Us hairy game lords this evening have been playing this. Amass from Dark Frontier. What did we think? Find out. Hello, 'tis I.
Hello.
Hipster King.
Yeah, I beat you though by 2 points, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. It's Ange, Bearded Lady. So, we have had much amusement tonight. And as we have all just, we've played the game, and then we've had a little chin wag about what we liked and what we didn't like about the game. And one of the things that we did talk about was that we'd laughed a lot tonight around this table. It's been good, hasn't it? It's been a lot of fun. So I'm just going to talk about the things I liked. Somebody else, probably Hipster King, will talk about how on earth you play it. So I really, really enjoyed this game. What did I like about it? There was a lot.
There was points.
So I really liked the artwork on the board, kind of 8-bit styly. Let me get. Thank you very much. There it is. There. So you've got these different bases. One of them is yours. There are different kind of like mining locations. There's this thing up here which is pretty cool, where you can go and you don't have to fight anybody. You can just go roll a dice and pick up some action cards. Now those action cards are really, really, really nice. How nice? They're really nice. Nice quality. Okay, this is a prototype as well, so everything could change, but I don't know why it would need to, because it looks good and works well. So these cards, there's quite a lot of them, and they are pretty powerful, and they help in the fact that this is a bit of a luck-based game. There is dice rolling involved. Now, before you freak out and be like, don't worry.
How did that go?
Don't worry, because although I'm not a massive fan of the luck-based tendencies in the dice rolling, these cards, you get them, and actually they can come in a treat and create much merriment around the table when you roll the rubbish number but still defeat somebody because you've got win it anyway. Excellent. So yeah, you got to mine different resources from different locations, but it's a battle. You place behind your player board where you're going to. Thank you very much. You're going to place on here, behind here. Where you're going to go, and then you can attack different people's bases as well. James was very quick to build up quite an attractive looking base, and so Dave and I,
Kicks me in.
we went over. We were like, I was thinking, I could fight for this pink here, but loads of people will go here, or I could just go over and raid James again.
Yep.
Which is what I did. Brilliant. So yeah, lots of great things about this game. I think there's lots of replayability in it. It worked for us extremely well with 4 players. I can't imagine. Well, I think maybe with 2 players, although there's an AI, isn't there? Yeah. I think 4 is the sweet point, I have to say, even though we've not played it with any others. But as we were sat around the table, it was like, this works a treat at 4. But yeah, loads of great stuff. I don't want to take it all up. I don't want to do it, James. But sorry, James.
It's okay.
I came second, which I was pleased with. Me and Dave all the way through were like, oh, we ain't got this. Came second. Excellent. Good times. Great game. Get involved with it on Kickstarter.
Slightly Bearded James here. Yes, I did get kicked in at this game. Basically, it's one of those games where if you're doing well early on, everybody notices and then comes and knocks on your door and takes your cubes, and then you're left second last from Dave. So This game, like, it's actually quite simple to play. You've got a few phases here. The first thing you do, if you wouldn't mind passing me one of those cards, is you get some resources out on the board. So you take turns being first player. And this, at first, I was like, oh my goodness, that is, like, confusing. But actually, it's just about what cubes you put out where. This one up here is about the aliens moving around. The alien, I don't know what's up with the alien, because, like, it's a bit like we've kind of travelled into Avatar. There's aliens on the planet. They're called the Nefari. They don't do anything to you. They just want to, like, live their lives in peace, and we go and, like, knock down their doors and take their cards, and yeah. So I think the aliens get a bad rap in this game. So that dictates where the cubes come out onto these mines. Now, it's not anything about...
It's upside down.
These mines. Now, it's not anything about proximity on this game. You can go to anywhere at all that you choose to, because the next step that you take is you plan your go as such. So behind your screen, you choose, for example, are you going to raid Pete, and from which direction you're going to raid him, because that dictates which cubes you're going to take when you're attacking. Or these 8 here are the 8 different mines that you can go to visit, and that's a great way to kind of like think about what resources you're going to bring in. This one here is really important. Defend your stuff. And then this one here is knock on the alien's door and grab their cards. So in this game, you can put 3 people in a location. You have got some cards that can like modify that after you've seen things, which is quite nice. But once you've played your cards to do your actions, then you get into some combat. Combat, I think, is actually one of the most interesting parts of it. It is a dice chucking, like, dice fest. Reminded us a little bit of Risk, because you're trying to match up your numbers, and like it's like, for example, 3 troops is 3 dice. And the most interesting part of this is the person who's in control of the go, for example, the first player, and it moves around, chooses who's going to fight for them. It's a bit like organising bum fights, and it's like, you guys fight in front of me now, and you can just watch the guys like go at it in front of you, dwindling their numbers just like they are now, and and then you can do and then you can reap all the benefits at the end of it all. So that is actually a really interesting mechanic that I've not seen in many games. A great use of strategy brought in, because you might want to think carefully about who you get to fight who first, because everyone's fighting when they're on the table. Now, everything kind of comes down to that, and then eventually you've got like resources that are shared. Or if you're attacking a base, you can have one of the cubes. 1 cube per side that you're facing, which is actually quite nice, because like if you've got your wall of cubes, and I'm sure somebody will mention that, it means that you can only lose 1 from each side at a time. And then finally, like your wounded people, after you've kind of moved your cubes into your base, your wounded people make their way along. And it's got a really nice flow to it. I think the thing for me, like the guys were talking about theme, the thing for me with the theme is it is reminiscent of like 8-bit indie PC games, like base builders, real-time strategy, and like I think the only way I can see the theme is like when you place your people behind your screen, it's a little bit like that fog of war that you'll see in a real-time strategy. And then you realise that you've also met some other people going to that precious pink cube that you all wanted. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have had a lot of laughs tonight. And even though I got kicked in, and I'm not bitter about it at all, it's been a great night. We've really enjoyed this one.
Amass, what did I think? I'll be honest, I loved it. I was trying to think of, I'm trying to develop my sort of critical skills. I guess the only thing I could sort of find about this is if you don't like player interaction, this won't be the game for you. I sometimes struggle with player interaction because
You're an angry man.
I get angry when people pick on me, basically. And at one point, James was being really nasty, and I was there with like 3 cubes. He's got about 15 in his base. But slowly but surely, because the beauty of this game is I think there are some really nice built-in catch-up mechanics. So whenever you get absolutely pummeled in a battle, and you might only lose one person, but if you lose one person by a lot, you end up going to the bottom of the wound track. And if you're at the bottom of the wound track, you immediately get a card. If you're at the next stage up, so basically if I roll a 1 and Dave rolls a 6, I'm straight in with a major wound. If we're 1 or 2 between us, I'll go into moderate or it's a middle wound. If I've got 2 characters in there, I get a card as well. So very, very quickly you can start building up cards even though you've been losing. Those cards then can help you when it comes to your next battle. Or one of the other things that you can do, which I used a couple of times, was because you place your characters onto your board, you do your planning before you play the cards. So you plan and then you deploy your workers. Now, this is the alien.
Poor guy.
And the alien, wherever they stop, you cannot mine and you cannot raid. So, there were a couple of times when there was a nice resource where the alien was. And each time that happened, I'd got to move the alien card. So I was able to deploy to that base and then move the alien on. And then either unless somebody else had got a similar card or had a similar plan, you then had whereas normally the orange cubes, which are worth 4 victory points, which is big. If only 2 of you went for it, you've got a really good chance. And then if you've got a couple of battling cards in your hand, an automatic win or something like that, very, very quickly you can pick up some nice cubes where other people wouldn't have even gone for that space because the alien's there, so what are you going there for? So there is some nice little bits of strategy in this game. So it isn't just a kind of random dice chucker. You have to think, you have to plan, and there's that whole bit of trying to work out what other people will do. So towards the end, I got quite defensive because I thought in the last 3 rounds, James was slightly ahead in terms of getting close to... The game finishes if you fill the 20 slots for resources in your base, and then you kind of total up your resources. So it was getting close to the end. James was probably 2 or 3 spaces off. I was probably 4 or 5. I was expecting everyone to come after me as well, so got very, very defensive. So couldn't do a lot in terms of attacking and going mining. So I was only picking 1s and 2s up. But actually everybody just went after James. So you've got that kind of, you've got to work out which way am I going to go? Am I going to go defending? Am I going to attack? Am I just going to go... just kind of waste a couple of my men, but not waste them, but go over to the aliens and try and get some action cards, but not pick anything else up. The other thing I liked in the game was there was a real nice ebb and flow. So there were some rounds that kind of seemed to take quite a few minutes because there were a lot of battles to go forward. There was lots of competition for these resources. So there was lots of different battles because you have to fight each battle until you're left with either the last man standing or the last enough crew to share the resources at that mine out fairly. And so there were rounds that seemed to go on for ages, and there were some rounds where literally there was very little competition. It was just grab the resources because nobody was competing over them, get the cards, and you kind of had a reset. So there was a real nice ebb and flow in the game, which kind of helped it along. I suppose the only other thing for some people, 4-player game, it was simple in terms of, so it didn't feel like we were really playing a learning game, and it still took us nearly 2 hours. So it's quite a long game. It says an hour on the tin, but I think you're probably talking an hour and a half, an hour and 40 with 4 players. And so that wasn't a problem here. We really enjoyed it. We had a blast. But if if long games like that aren't your thing, I guess maybe you need to look at something a little bit simple, a little bit shorter in terms of that kind of game. But for me, we just had a great laugh, absolutely, and you still had to think. So it wasn't like you were just switching off and rolling dice. There was a really good level of strategy in. So big thumbs up from the Hipster King.
And I won.
Hi, Dave the Great. Now, I'm old, so these guys keep telling me. However, I grew up with stuff like this. 8-bit graphics, got to love them. And to be honest, the theme, I actually felt, yes, it's cubes. We all are used to cubes in our nice sort of medium and heavy Euros, and sitting there and going, cube, cubey, 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 and just sitting there looking at the cards and going, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. This was cubes, but they actually for resources fitted really well with that sort of 8-bit theme. And there were loads of dice, and I don't think we've had a game with this much sort of just fun player interaction. I mean, obviously we pick on James because he's James. That's why he turns up. But I don't think we've had a game with this amount of player interaction and this much sort of laughter in a proper game rather than sort of a party game for ages. We've had 2 hours and we've had an absolute blast. Rolling dice, laughing, cheering when they come up trumps. You get to mitigate that with cards. It's not just a dice chucker. There is actually some thought, tactics. You can try and weight combat towards yourself with 3 of your guys going for that one space and hoping you can just win by rolling more dice gives you a higher probability of winning. But then somebody turns up with a card going, ha, I'm going to auto win this. No, I also have an auto win, or cancel your auto win. I cancel your cancelling of my auto win. So the cards are really powerful, but works really well as a catch-up mechanic. There is a bit of luck, but there's a lot of thinking about where you're going to put stuff. Hidden placement of your workers I really enjoy, because again there's that element of bluff, and sometimes we had a few spaces where an absolutely plumb set of resources were just sitting there and nobody went for them because we were all sitting there going, everybody's going to go for that, I'll go for this one over here. And then we all outthought ourselves, and there was a massive pile of stuff over there that nobody went for, and we were all fighting over the scraps over in the top right-hand corner, cursing that we hadn't gone over there, unless you had a card that let you suddenly move one of your workers from over here to over there. So there was lots of stuff going on, but we didn't have to spend ages learning it. Even Ange, who never listens to the... I mean, I'm bad, but that's just because I can't hear properly because I'm old. Ange just doesn't listen to the rules. And he just goes, let's play. And even Ange, after the first round, got it. It's a simple game to learn.
You were second, weren't you?
Came second.
I came last. Shush. But it was tight at the end as well. Me and Ange were thinking, we're miles behind. But actually, with the catch-up mechanic, nobody gets left completely behind. So I think even though I came last, with a couple of good rounds, or even one round where I got a couple of cubes off Pete or James, I could actually have swung it even right at the end. So everybody had a chance. It was a ton of fun. I can't help but recommend this game. It's one of the ones, I'm sorry, we'll have to send it off to somebody else, and I hope they enjoy it as much as we did, because it was an absolute blast. 2 thumbs up from me.
Yeah, start again.
Hi, Dave the...
Got to happen at least once. Who can't not?